All right, welcome into a Wednesday edition of BloodHorse at the Derby. Wednesday is what we typically call this Wednesday before the Kentucky Derby here at Churchill Downs, although today, Wind Day might be a more appropriate name for the day, as we've had nonstop rain showers kind of going off and on throughout the day. Pretty hard rain. As you can see behind me there, the track is sloppy as I stand just outside of the mile chute. Now, I am Sean Collins of BloodHorse, and we're happy to be presented today by, as we have been all week, by Alex Smallwood of Christie's Bluegrass. Make sure you go ahead and check them out, and thank you to Alex for sponsoring our BloodHorse at the Derby coverage. Now, I'm alone at the moment. Usually I have my co-host Louie Rabaut alongside of me, and he will be alongside of me later on in the episode, but we had finished filming today's episode of BloodHorse at the Derby, and then after he went off to his radio show, and after I went on to hop on with the Racing Post out there in England to give our selections for the Kentucky Derby, you can check that out on Friday, we got some breaking news here at Churchill Downs. And that breaking news is that Silent Tactic, the runner-up in the Arkansas Derby and winner of the Southwest Stakes earlier in the year, has scratched from the 152nd Kentucky Derby. Now, I had an opportunity to talk with Mark Casse just a few minutes ago. It sounds like it is a foot bruise that has knocked Silent Tactic out of the Kentucky Derby. This is something that has been kind of lingering off and on for the last several months, but it flared up in the last day or so as Silent Tactic was out here training. And so Mark Casse and the team has made the tough decision, but the proper decision, to take care of the horse to go ahead and scratch. Hopefully, if it all clears up in good time, then we can see Silent Tactic in the Preakness Stakes. But let's go ahead and hear Mark Casse's thoughts on Silent Tactic. All right, a rainy day here at Churchill Downs, probably reflective of the mood inside the Casse barn today, as we have announced that Silent Tactic is going to have to be scratched from the Kentucky Derby with a foot bruise. Mark, just kind of take us through the decision and what's been going on with him.
You know, he's fought this for a long time. It comes and goes. You never know when it's going to come. You never know when it's going to go. I just wasn't that happy with him this morning. He's actually fine galloping or even working. It's just jogging. It's almost like he has a little bit of separation, like if you took your nail and you ever have your nail separate underneath it. And it's painful on the jog. He wasn't jogging 100% this morning. And so we wanted to get on it and start working on that foot. And to do that, we need to go ahead and scratch. And he wasn't going to be at his best on Saturday. So we're going to aim for the Preakness and see. So, yeah, we're going to look at the Preakness and see what happens.
You said this is something that you've kind of dealt with him for a while. When did it really start, this specific instance, when did it kind of start to flare up?
Day or so ago. Okay. You know, yeah. It comes and goes. It's been going. He's had some issues for 6 months. They come and go, and normally, we can deal with it, and we do different types of shoeing and different things, but it was just bad timing, and so it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal at all. It's just bad timing.
Yeah, no, horse always comes first. You won't want to put him out there 100%.
No, we're not. We're not going to run him, and So, and Mr. Oxley, I feel bad for him. I feel bad for Christian Torres. For me, this is my life. It's every day something's going on, but we're always going to put the horse first.
And you still have the opportunity to look forward to the Kentucky Oaks here with Counting Stars and Search Party. How are they coming into the Oaks?
They're both coming in really well. I think both are doing good. Counting Stars, she's a little more versatile than Search Party. Search Party's going to need some pace, but I think there looks like there's a fair amount of pace. Both fillies really like it here too. They like Churchill Downs.
And Silent Tactic, you mentioned you're going to hope for the Preakness. Is this, take us into the life of a trainer here, these kind of foot bruises? Is this usually something that can get cleared up kind of quick?
Yeah, it can. A foot bruise is crazy, though. You can have it. War Will, he came out with a foot bruise after the Derby, and he missed 4 or 5 days of training between the Derby and the Preakness, and he was fine. We got him better. He won the Preakness. This has been lingering, and it can linger for a long time. Uh, it's just a day-to-day thing, and he worked very well the other day. Actually came out of his work in good order, and then just kind of started. And it was very slight, but enough that it was a concern, and we're not going to take any chances.
Well, thank you so much, Mark, for taking the time to share that with us here. Best of luck in the Kentucky Oaks, and we hope the best for Silent Tactic, and we hope that we can see him in the Preakness in a couple weeks.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you very much to Mark Casse for taking the time to speak with us there. I actually accidentally woke him up from his nap as I knocked on the office door, but luckily he was already in the process of waking up anyway, so he was still gracious enough to do that interview with us, and hopefully he's going to get some rest in now before the third race when he's got a horse here at Churchill Downs on Wednesday. But hey, that's the way that the game goes sometimes. You put all that preparation in, and then something like that happens. You want to do right by the horse, but the timing, it always sucks. But best of luck to the Casse team, and well wishes to Silent Tactic that they can get that cleared up pretty quickly, and we will see him over at the Preakness, hopefully, in just a little over 2 weeks. Now, obviously, there's quite a bit of disappointment over there in the Mark Casse barn right now, but on the flip side of that, the connections of Great White are having a very happy day right now. Trainer John Ennis, and who also co-owns Great White along with Three Chimneys Farm, they're now in the Kentucky Derby. So what's going on now with the Kentucky Derby? How does this impact the race? Great White is going to slide into the outside of the starting gate. So right now he's in post position number 20. Silent Tactic was in post position number 13. So everybody outside of him, 14 through 20, is going to shift down one position. Now, if you're new to horse racing, if you're just tuning in for the Kentucky Derby, the numbers that they wear on their backs will remain the same. Those are their program numbers. And so that's going to be what you're betting on. So you don't have to worry about the numbers changing, but everybody is going to slide in one post position. Now, what does that mean as far as the curse of post position number 17, which we talked about in our post position draw episode on Sunday? So 6 Speed, who was in the 17, is now down in the 16, and that puts poor further ado from post 18 into post 17. So that is the curse position. It's probably just a statistical anomaly. It's 0 for 46 of the Kentucky Derby. No real reason to it, but hey, I've been promoting on BloodHorse Monday, and I've been promoting here on this show. The curse of the 17 exists, and so we're going to go ahead and give that little update here. Now, what does that mean for further ado? Well, he could still get into the 16. Potentially, there's more scratches that actually happened to Sovereignty last year. One scratch put him in the 17, and then another scratch put him into the 16, so he was able to avoid that curse. Now, as far as 6 Speed goes, unfortunately, the number itself on the horse's back has never won either. So we might find out this year if one of them wins, whether it's the number or the post position that's actually cursed. But 6 Speed, unfortunately, it sounds like you're still carrying that number 17 curse. But Great White is in the field. What does this mean for the actual race itself once they come out of the starting gate? Silent Tactic was going to be a closer, probably a deep closer in this race, so it's not going to have much impact on the pace. Great White could potentially have an impact on the pace scenario. He was forward in his last couple of races, especially in the Bluegrass Stakes, his one run on dirt leading up to the Kentucky Derby. However, we did talk to trainer John Ennis on this show just a few days ago about what the tactics might be from that far outside post position. So let's go ahead and remind ourselves what John Ennis said on that episode while he was grazing Great White as far as how he plans to run in the Kentucky Derby. How do you envision could be if he does draw into the Derby? He's obviously going to be in the outside of the gate. How can you envision his success happening at the Derby? What does he need to kind of unfold for him?
Well, he needs to improve, obviously, a lot. But I'd like to see him. I'm much happier now this week than I was going into week of Bluegrass with him physically. I've kept him fresher and done less speed work with him. We're going to just take our time in the Derby if he gets in there riding mid-pack, somewhere like that, and he can't be on the front or like he was in the Bluegrass. He's a very green horse still, so we will kind of ride him in the middle of the field somewhere and kind of see how we get on.
And obviously, it is still Wednesday before Kentucky Derby. The scratch time for the rest of the also eligibles to get in is typically, I believe, 9 a.m. on Friday. So it'll be Friday morning when the betting opens on the Kentucky Oaks card, which has a lot of those 2-day wagers on it. That will be the deadline for the rest of the also eligibles to get in. So who's in next? If we have any more scratches, O'Selly, the maiden, who was third in the Wood Memorial just a couple of weeks ago. He barely lost that second place spot in a head bob with Right to Party. I know the Connections are very disappointed in that. They were really hoping to run in the Kentucky Derby. They might get their chance. They are the next ones in. Now, if 2 scratches happen, Robusta, a stablemate to Pavlovian, owned by Calumet Farm, trained by Doug O'Neill, he would be the next one in if there are 2 scratches. If there are 3 scratches, then Dallas Stewart, who's known for long shots running well in the Kentucky Derby, he will get Corona de Oro into the field. He is the last of the also eligibles. So if we somehow end up getting more scratches than Corona de Oro, then we will not see a full starting gate. But luckily, we still have 3 more alternates just in case there are any more defections. Obviously, we hope that there are no defections. We want everybody to make it to the Kentucky Derby starting gate in perfect order. But that's kind of how this is shaping up. It doesn't look like the silent tactics scratch is going to have much of an impact on the way the race unfolds itself. But you are going to have to look at now the huge horse, Great White, one of the biggest horses I've ever seen. And he is going to be inside of stall number 21 on the outside. So we'll see how that all shakes out. Now we will go ahead and cut to Louie and myself inside of the Backside Learning Center, where we did film the show prior to knowing Silent Tactic was scratched from the field. So here is the rest of BloodHorse at the Derby here on the Wednesday before. Once again, thanks to Alex Smallwood for presenting our BloodHorse at the Derby coverage.
All right, welcome in. Wednesday edition of BloodHorse at Derby 152 alongside Strong Collins. My name is Louie Rabaut. We are indoors today, a very, very rainy day here at Churchill Downs. You can kind of see a little bit of the moisture on Sean's shoulders. This jacket is not supposed to be this brown, I promise you. And I'm sure you noticed this hat from previous days is considerably darker than it has been. But we're inside the Backside Learning Center, kind of taking people all over the track here. One of these places that you'll hear about later in the episode with our friend Brook Smith, who's been on the pod several times on BloodHorse Monday, how important this place is to him. And frankly, to everyone who works here on the backside at Churchill Downs and extending past this place. You'll hear from the director as well later in the episode. But up first here, Sean, besides the weather, it's starting to pick up. You can really feel the Derby fever at this point.
Oh, yeah, you can really feel the Derby fever. We're at the point now where because of the timing of everyone's breezes, we're going to start having every Derby horse on the track on the same day. They won't be having their day off from after their breeze coming up here. So I think probably with the Wonder Dean coming back out tomorrow, I imagine that would be the case. And so, yeah, it's picking up. The crowd's getting bigger here on the backside each morning. And so even with the rain today, we had a great crowd of people out there along the rail taking in the sight of the horses. The owners are filtering in, more and more of them, and all of the people that they're bringing with them. So you can really feel the excitement picking up. For sure.
It really is picking up. We're going to talk first up today, Sean, with Ramiro Restrepo, who was part of the Mage team just a few years ago, coming out of the Florida Derby and, of course, winning here at Churchill Downs in the Kentucky Derby, is in the representation group, we'll call it that, for the Puma this year. He called himself essentially their number one cheerleader in this. Ramiro's one of those guys, though, that has a really great eye, and you'll hear from him. I asked him a question about, going all in on an essential quality. What is that like with a newer sire, that sort of thing as well. But it's not an accident when you come back with this kind of frequency with horses. Ramiro, one of those guys.
Yeah, he is one of those guys. And, he maybe took a little bit of the credit out for himself in this interview, but, he did play an important role on the Bloodstock side of things.
Absolutely.
Picking out this horse. So obviously that's a very important piece of the puzzle, is first acquiring the horse.
No doubt about it.
To begin with. And so that's a very important piece of the puzzle. And the betting opened for the Derby yesterday, and the Puma opened as the 3-1 the 3-1 favorite right now. There's a lot of hype about the Puma right now. He's looked pretty good out there on the racetrack.
Absolutely.
He does kind of have a little bit of a a weird way of moving sometimes, the way his legs go. That's just him. That's not anything to be concerned about. And obviously it's worked out for him as well in the past. He's been a very successful horse throughout the winter. And does seem like he's kind of on that Mage projection. He maybe got he has a graded stakes win, so that's a key difference between him and Mage. But he does seem like the kind of horse that's on that kind of progression, and the Delgados have ready to peak here on Kentucky Derby Day. So he definitely seems like that. But yeah, Ramiro being back here at the Derby. I mean, we mentioned it with Mike Rapoli on the show yesterday about his Bloodstock group having the morning line favorite for 3 of the last 4 Derbies. How incredible that is. We're going to talk to Brook Smith later in the show, as you mentioned. He was in back-to-back Kentucky Derbies with Sierra Leone and Render Judgment. And so you can kind of see when some of these guys are coming back year after year, obviously they've found what has worked. They have found the right team of people they need around them in order to be successful. And it seems like Ramiro, the Delgados, it seems like they have that group kind of put together right now, and they've got everything's clicking for them. And so here they are back again 3 years later trying to win another Kentucky Derby.
Incredible. Anything you want the audience to know before we throw to Ramiro?
No, it's just I think,
I don't want to spoil it anyway, frankly.
Yeah, I know. Neither do I. Just know it was not raining at the start when we chose to do this outside. So you can gradually see us get wetter.
We weren't trying to put Ramiro in a bad spot, we promise. Right?
And we did verify. We did ask him, "Oh, are you okay with doing it out here?" And he did say yes. So let's put that out there. But no, I got a chance to. The first time I ever met Ramiro was the day after Mage won the Kentucky Derby, and he's always been so great with his time. And this is a guy who, I mean, he's loved horse racing his whole life, and so he really is a guy that appreciates being here for events like this. He really is just trying to have fun in the industry, and then he's also one of those guys who likes to give back to the industry as well, which we'll see a theme of that with Brook later on as well. But so I had a great chance to kind of talk with him for like a long 30-40 minutes. I wasn't even that was back the day after Mage won the Derby. I hadn't even worked for BloodHorse yet at that point. He just took the time to talk with me about things, and he's one of the guys that he puts a lot of time and effort into this every single day. And so when he gets rewarded to come out here with a horse for the Derby, it's always a nice thing. And you can see in this interview, you'll be able to tell, even though he is more in the cheerleader role this time, just how much he appreciates being here.
Trackside with Ramiro. You hear from him now. Well, welcome in. BloodHorse at Derby 152. Louie, Rabaut, Sean Collins, of course, with Ramiro Restrepo, part of the ownership team of the Puma, we just learned. Not the Puma, as has been said by others in media. We will not do that to you.
That answers our question from a couple episodes ago.
Getting into that. Well, good morning. Good wet morning to you. How are you?
Thank you, Louie. Thanks for having me. Sean, how's it going, guys?
Good. We're doing great. Obviously, Derby week, all these things. You've done this before. What's it like being back? Is there less pressure after you win one of these things? How does that work out?
Well, it's a little different. My role and my journey is a little different. On this colt, I'm just the Bloodstock agent, and I rep a couple of the owners that are in there, JR Ranch and High Step Racing, 2 of my clients. So I'm more here as like the number one cheerleader for the horse and support for the guys. Very happy and blessed to be here. The first go around, you're bright-eyed and like just in shock of the surroundings, and can't even digest the fact that even now that we still won it. But this is like a business trip, and you definitely feel comfortable being here, and hopeful for another lovely result.
Well, you mentioned that you're a Bloodstock agent here. What was it about the Puma that you guys really liked when you were picking him out at the sales?
Well, it was like a combination of things from both Junior and mine thought process. Like, he had a fantastic work. I think he had a 46 and change gallop out, which for that consignment hidden Brook was really unique. His dam Eve of War was one of those like shoulda, coulda, woulda, but different race mares, kind of like Puka, and those were some of the things that really stuck out in my mind. Physically, I know for Gustavo Jr., the look of the horse, the stoutness, and his unique action kind of like caught his attention to the other red colt from 2023. So, I could see how that was appealing to Junior's eyes. So, when we combine our thoughts and our NFL big board on the draft, we placed them high up there and went for him and got him.
When you're looking for horses, you mentioned it, kind of maybe some of that color of Mage kind of picking up some of your guys' eye. How much are you looking for what Mage had? Now that you kind of know what to look for, how much are you at the sales kind of looking for what Mage had when you're looking for a Kentucky Derby prospect?
Well, from Mage's from with Mage had physically was his own unique traits. He reminded me a lot of Good Magic. Go watch side by side tapes of Good Magic in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, in the Haskell. His action, his motion, his movement was just like his daddy's. And I think all good horses in general, besides the physical attributes that you can apply to their pedigree or to what you feel comfortable with conformation wise, Sean, what you're really looking for is their demeanor, their disposition, how they exude intelligence and class, and obviously in a Bree show, athleticism, and how they do their their motion and their workouts. I'd be amiss to say, oh yeah, we're only looking for Derby horses. This is what a Derby horse looks like, but you're looking for just attributes of a classy good horse.
All right, you mentioned Daddy there, and we're talking with Ramiro Restrepo, from the Puma team. Essential quality, when you're looking at stallions like this, sires like this that are, newer to the, having 3-year-olds and high quality 3-year-olds at this level, what are you looking for? Is it the physical attributes, or is it a bit of a gamble with newer sires?
When you're operating at a limited budget, and you're going to be battling everyone who's looking for the Uncle Mo's and the Into Mischiefs and the Tappets and all this. So you're looking for an angle with the first year sires, and we've been fortunate to have a good run of that, of buying those first year sires. I like to look for a first year sire that as a runner was the real deal. And when you look at essential qualities, PPs, I mean, it's pretty, it's just really impressive. You know what I mean? And you see his physical attributes and you try to say, what does he have that the babies might have, and try to find the similarity, see how he's stamping them, and hoping that there's a little bit of a cloning there, and that they can inherit some of the internal gifts too.
Now, as you've gotten him onto the racetrack, he was a maiden still when he won the Tampa Bay Derby. What gave you guys the confidence out of his debut to then pursue the Sam Davis and the Tampa Bay Derby with him, even though he still hadn't gotten that win yet?
Well, that's all on Gustavo's the one who drives the bus with that. When you have a trainer that's been around enough to turn route 3-year-old colts, they know what a 2-year-old, or excuse me, what a racehorse looks like on the track in terms of what ability he's carrying. If you remember, he had Bodie Express that won the Clark. He ran him as a maiden through the whole Triple Crown process, and he lost a maiden race against Chancelot by a nose. So and kept on through the path. So he's been around good horses. Caracaro was second in the Florida Derby. Actually, second in the Travers. Majesta, that was second and Bodie Express, that was second in the Florida Derby. So they've been around these kind of horses. They've been down this Triple Crown trail, and they had the confidence that the horse had that kind of ability. And if he could go through the steps and qualify, it would lead him here, and he did.
The team has had a lot of seconds in the Florida Derby, this one being one of them. It worked out with Mage a couple years ago. Obviously, we've seen some success, as you mentioned, with some of the other ones as well. You guys, I know you wanted to win the Florida Derby. You would have liked to get your nose down, but does it give you a little confidence, a little good luck that you were second in the Florida Derby at all?
I mean, look,
he's here, right?
Who doesn't want to win? Right?
Yeah, but he's here, right?
But we're here. We made it. You made it back to the show. The team made it back to the dance, and that's all you really want is just progression and to show that you belong. And the horse has done that on both fronts, and you just are thankful he's here, healthy, feeling good, training well by all accounts, and hoping that he's ready to fire his best on Saturday.
All right, so I got to ask you, you're the handicapper here, and the Tampa route this year has been so fruitful. We see Renegade leave Tampa, go win the Arkansas Derby. A maiden winner in emerging market goes to New Orleans and wins Louisiana Derby. Your horse goes down, darn near picks off the Florida Derby. Does that give you some hope that maybe that Tampa was the good starting point for this guy?
Oh, totally. I mean, look, Tampa's a fantastic racetrack. It's a wonderful surface. Just a pleasure to have horses run over there, and you see the results obviously coming out of there. I think it's just cool that the colt, every race that he's been in, he's taken on, top class horses. So, and he's have a fantastic record, against her. Yeah, we've taken a couple of L's against Renegade and Chief Wallaby, but we've come back and by most accounts gotten back a revenge. So, look, the Tampa results speak for themselves, like you mentioned, all across the country, and you're just hopeful that it all comes together for Saturday, and that's like the most important thing.
Well, not only Tampa, but the top 3 finishers there in the Florida Derby are going to come and be some of the top betting choices here in the Kentucky Derby. With everything going on right now in Florida with the decoupling issue and all of that, how big is this for the state of Florida to see these horses running so well down there, coming up and being the top horses up here for the Kentucky Derby?
Well, it just goes to show how Florida is so important to our ecosystem. From Ocala, the horses that are raised there, that are broken and pinhooked there, it's just an important cog to our industry. And year in, year out, you see horses that come out of the Florida Derby and the Tampa Bay Derby and those Triple Crown series, to watch them go out and have success. And in the past, we had Hialeah Park, which was another huge winter destination. It's historically the tradition, and the importance is super vital. And hopefully, the powers that be, whoever they are, come together for some type of resolution where we know that there's going to be something there permanent and concrete, and going forward, we don't have to think about those issues of uncertainty.
Last one from me. The Puma did not do a timed work here at Churchill Downs. How's he looked on the surface, though?
Look, the colt ran a bunch of races in a short period of time. He came back on 3 weeks to run in another monster effort. Every time he's been on the track, he's laid it down and given a heck of an effort. His work 2 Saturdays ago was, a mile and 137 and change, and with a savage gallop out. They've been galloping him here. Colt seems to be happy and training well. I think sometimes, people who don't have the practical experience or have their own unique training style maybe don't recognize how training isn't cookie cutter. Every horse has their own particular system. In bodybuilding, not everybody works out differently. Ronnie Coleman trained different than Dorian Yates. Like, everyone has a different programming. So for you to think that a horse needs to breeze every 7 days and this and that, it's just something that, look, I don't blame those on the outside who have question marks. It's just everything is tailor-made to the individual horse. You can't just have a blanket statement. I remember last year Mage breezed his last work, and everybody was saying how slow it was. What was it, 116 or whatever it was, and everybody was like, what is that turtle work? But there's a method to, people's programming, and I think that needs to be respected. Clearly, Gustavo knows how to get a good horse to go a distance of ground, and if this is what the training that the Puma needs, it's what he needs to give his best effort on Saturday.
This is an industry, this is a race where a lot of times people are like, well, we'll take whatever we can get as far as, luck or anything like that when it comes to the Derby. The Puma is in Mage's stall. Maybe a good omen there. When we asked Doug O'Neill about Pavlovian being in Nyquist's stall a few days ago, he's like, that was definitely intentional, and we're going to take whatever we can get.
Absolutely.
Is there any kind of thought process for you guys keeping him in that same stall?
Oh, I mean, I don't know how it ended up happening, whether it was by request or the powers that be, but, it's always nice to be home, and it's lovely to have those kind of good vibes surrounding the horse. I mean, like I said, that 22-3 moment for everyone was one of the most beautiful experiences you can experience with a group of friends and a group of partners ever. And if any of that magic can carry over to this year, I'll take it for sure.
Is there any part of that experience, a lot of times, maybe sometimes when people win something the first time, it's such a chaotic moment that you don't necessarily get to sit down and enjoy it as it's happening. Is there any part of the experience that if you get a second chance, you're going to kind of take a little extra moment to appreciate part of it now that you know what to expect?
Well, I was lucky that America's Best Racing actually followed me around the whole day for the experience. So I was very fortunate to have like this 8-minute documentary that I probably watch once a week to lift my spirits and enjoy every second of it. So selfishly speaking, I got to soak it all in, and I still do to this day. For this one, it's more about the clients, and it's more about the partners in on the horse. I'm just the number one cheerleader here. I have a secondary role to just make sure that that they're happy, that they're enjoying their moment in the sun. I'm thankful that you guys even want to chat with me about this and give my 2 cents about what's going on. But I'm way more behind the scenes here. And off to the side. I'm just, it's cool to observe it from afar, but it's all about JR Ranch, High Step Racing, Michael Ivorone, Bruce Zolden, and obviously the Gustavos. This is their moment in the sun, their moment to enjoy all this, and their moment to bask in the glow. And if the horse happens to win, it's cool for my resume and just to, be thankful of that. But it's for these guys to really soak it in, and I have my video to enjoy my Mage moment.
Well, I think that's a perfect spot to wrap this up. Ramiro, really appreciate the time. All the best up until Saturday and on Saturday. Safe trip and all that.
Thank you, Luke. Thank you. Thanks, Sean.
All right, thanks to Ramiro Restrepo there, part of the Puma team here at Church of Dallas Break from the 9. I think he's going to be single-digit odds this weekend for sure, and so it's an interesting development on that front. Speaking of developments, of course, the weather. Always a question this time of year in the Ohio Valley, no different this year ahead of Kentucky Derby 152. It rained a lot the other day, and the track we came out Tuesday, and it was fast and firm, and we were good to go. It rained even more last night, and it is not fast and firm today.
No, it's been interesting kind of watching the weather. I feel thankful that this did not come over the weekend. I know that we had a little bit of rain that made Riley Mott choose to push Albus and Incredible to work back a day. But I always say Brad Cox is the gauge for me for whether or not it's going to be bad rain. The fact that he sent his horses out on Saturday, I was like, all right, he's thinking well about the weather. So it's not as important, I feel like, that we're getting the rain right now when it comes to the daily training and the galloping and stuff. But you did see a couple changes in some people's schedules and kind of what they were doing today. For example, Renegade did not do like a full jog over to the front side. He just kind of came out, took a right, and he immediately went into his gallop, as did Zany for the Kentucky Oaks. That's not a surprise. The Todd Pletcher horses I've seen do that for the Derby anytime we've had a wet track in the past.
Sure.
So that's not a surprise there. Albus and Incredible were the first two on the track this morning. Brad Cox actually did not send Full Effort and Commandment out first thing like they had been doing. So I thought that was a little interesting. Also a little interesting this morning was Commandment galloped with a partner.
And he had been working exclusively solo before that.
Yeah, yes, but like especially in the gallops too. He had a different rider on him today, Jonathan, instead of Katie, and he was galloping with a partner. So not entirely sure what the goal was with him there. So I thought that was a bit interesting. Probably just trying to maybe keep him a little bit more focused in the training today would be my guess.
Well, Brad Cox has told us before he'll do small changes with horses to kind of indicate, hey, a big day is coming.
Exactly.
And sometimes he'll change the time of day.
Yeah.
Sometimes he'll change, and perhaps this is one of those where, hey, extra horse, get out there. Let them know, hey, we're doing something a little different today.
Yeah, so I thought that was probably that was the biggest talking point of the morning for me was the fact that Commandment came out and did that, and then Full Effort did end up coming out with Further Ado right after Commandment was out here. So they did come out before the break, and I think the biggest shock to me, this doesn't necessarily have to relate to the Derby itself, but when the horses came out on the track this morning at 5:15, the track hadn't been sealed yet.
Right.
So with all the rain we got last night, when I was shocked when I got here yesterday morning and it wasn't sealed, and it actually looked pretty good. Yeah, right. So the track maintenance team's on top of their game right now. They're getting the water out of that track as best they can, and so they're all systems are firing in the track maintenance crew team here at the start of Kentucky Derby week. It appears, but yeah. So I thought that was interesting. We had the news yesterday on the FanDuel TV show that Golden Tempo is dealing with a little bit of, I think they call it cracked heels.
Yep.
Yeah, and so
right hind, I think.
It doesn't sound like anything that is to be too concerned about. It's kind of more. It sounds like it's kind of more just like you think about like if your skin cracks on your hand or something like that. So the main concern is just making sure you don't get it infected. Right. My question will be, as we get away from today with the weather today and him going out on the sealed track, whether or not that does anything with him. So we'll have to keep an eye on him over the next couple of days, I feel like, and see how he continues to train going forward to it. But it sounded like from what Cherie said yesterday, Cherie DeVoe, the trainer, it sounded like it's not anything to be super concerned about.
Talk to Brook Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Right here in this room.
Yes.
You'll see that next. Brooke has become a friend of the show, which we like. One of the themes of this Derby is who's not here.
Yes.
It is every year for sure, but this year feels a little heavier for some reason. But Ted Nafi, of course, out of the Spendthrift team. Paladin, of course, here would be Chad Brown's best Derby horse, probably, unless you know how you feel about emerging market. Tough game.
It is
a tough game, but Brook is probably one of those guys that if I were an owner, I would look up to his approach to this.
Exactly.
Right, as far as, hey, he's okay. We needed to do X, Y, Z. Hopefully he's back on the track this year. We'll see him, do these things, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, absolutely one of the themes here is who is not here.
Yeah, it is a big theme. Ted Nafi was obviously the favorite coming out of the 2-year-old season.
Absolutely.
And
for good reason.
Yeah, we never even got to see him in a prep in a 3-year-old race before he had some bone bruising and he had to come off the Derby trail. Paladin then took over the favoritism role. We had Byron King on yesterday to talk about the Derby Dozen. Ted Nafi was his starting horse on top of the Derby Dozen. And then, further ado, had taken over for maybe a week. And then after that, Paladin took over once he won the Risen Star as the number 1. And so Byron then lost another of his number 1s when he got injured in his final workout ahead of the Bluegrass. But luckily, both horses are fine. We will see them later on down the line create an interesting challenge for whoever does come out of the Derby and the Triple Crown down the line to have to face them potentially in the future. So, but it does play a big role in the story of this Derby a little bit about the fact that we do have 2 horses that we thought were clear Kentucky Derby contenders that are not here.
Right.
We still have a fantastic field, don't get me wrong, but it definitely was a big storyline. But I think the one thing I've always admired about Brook is his ability to talk about horses, whether it's his own or others, and give you his insight. And I thought he gave us great insight to what it was like to lose the favorite for the Kentucky Derby that close to the race, a month out as you're preparing for the final prep race. So I thought he gave us some great insight. And he's a guy who's had a lot of success recently, Sierra Leone being one of them. He's been in with the Coolmore partners on quite a few of these top horses recently, both Paladin and Sierra Leone involved with the Coolmore owners. And so he knows what it's like to have a lot of success recently, and he knows what it's like now to be on this side as well. So I think a very, very good perspective. And obviously he does a lot of work with the Backside Learning Center. So we're going to hear some great information from him there. We're also going to talk to Sherry Stanley, the executive director of the Backside Learning Center. A lot of great work here. I'll let Brook and Sherry tell you about all the great work here, but I've had the opportunity to cover the Backside Learning Center and several of their events quite a bit recently and really see how important this is to the industry as a whole and especially to the community here at Churchill Downs. It's a phenomenal organization. They do a lot of great work with all the backstretch workers here.
Here's Brook Smith from just a few minutes ago, frankly, with me and Sean. All right, rolling along on BloodHorse at Kentucky Derby 152 alongside Sean Collins. My name is Louie Rabaut, and I say alongside. It's actually not correct. I'm alongside Brook Smith here at the Backside Learning Center, and frankly, Brook, a place that means a lot to you.
It does. And this a BloodHorse sandwich that I'm smashed in between also means a lot. No, look, it's great because when something arrives, you call it out its initials, right? Yeah. So BLC.
100%.
So that's the thing. Yeah. And Backside Learning Center is a mouthful, but BLC rolls right off your tongue like a BLT, right?
I agree.
So Sherry,
I'm pro BLT in case anyone was wondering out there. Brook, pro BLT, I assume.
100%.
Good to know.
Didn't eat tomatoes till I was a young man, and I'm making up for lost time.
All right,
especially
okay,
on BLT.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, when you start thinking about things, the sport, industries, and how they function, machines. Right now, we're all focused on technology, but there's still people, right, involved in everything that we do.
Yep.
Especially in horse racing, especially on the backside. And BLC has turned into an organization that is beyond vital, and it continues to grow. It continues to expand the awareness of the backside worker, what it means to be around these horses. I mean, their day starts when you wake up, generally speaking, they've already covered, a third or half of their day. Yeah. And it's a lot. There's families that live here. They come from, all over the place. And what the Backside Learning Center's done is just kind of been that safety net, that catch-all for anything that they need. If they need to get to the grocery or go see the dentist, like I did this morning, and to work with their families, the kids, mental health, just anything and everything, because it's an intimidating world that people live in, especially from foreign countries. Yeah. Even if they're fully documented, everything T's crossed, I's dotted, it's just over your shoulder kind of mentality. So the Backside Learning Center, I think, takes that edge out of the equation, and
great.
And it's just incredible.
It's impossible to walk around this place and not hear and see all of the things that you just mentioned. Frankly, as a guy who speaks Spanish, I could hear the different accents from the different parts of the Spanish-speaking world. Even so it's not just, oh, we have a bunch of folks from, I don't know, Panama, pick a spot or something. No, they're from a lot of different spots, and they came here to do this. Right? They came here to work with these animals.
No question.
Because that's what they want to do. They want to live that agrarian lifestyle. And yeah, this kind of place supporting them is absolutely vital for what we do.
It's their passion first.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody that's in around this business, you guys, myself, any component, any person that has anything to do with horse racing, it is about passion. And, and it's a hard way of life. It's dirty this morning. It's raining and soggy out there. Horses need to go to the track. So what an incredible community. And the Backside Learning Center has elevated them and is continuing to elevate them.
Now, Sierra Leone was a horse that did a lot for the Learning Center through their Purses for a Purpose program. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But thinking back to the Kentucky Derby 2 years ago, you were very, very close to winning the race. Just what do you remember about that experience with him a few years ago?
Still the greatest race I've ever attended. I want to be on record. It's the greatest race I've ever been. In person, best one I've ever seen in person.
It was magic.
It's unbelievable. It was incredible. It really was incredible.
Again, these out-of-body experiences, I've said that before. It sounds a little dramatic, but you're sitting there and, here they come. Well, on the backside, or in the back stretch, I felt like Sierra Leone, I was like, this horse is even going to hit the board. He always does that to you. He did when he was racing. But to have that finish, I actually thought it was a dead heat. It was that close. And they looked at it a long time, so it was a fraction away. Because of the numbers, the little section that they seat you in, we were right next to Mystic Dance Connections, and obviously I know Brian and Kenny, and it was just like to watch their elation when they won the race. I didn't feel like the rug had been pulled out from underneath me. I just kind of I felt like I was inside like a film or something, and I was just kind of taking it in. I had my one youngest son, Grayson, was like right next to me. We were holding on to each other. You know how it is.
Yeah.
And so experience of a lifetime. Certainly want and hope for more of that, but if it never happens again, the box has been more than checked.
You were the shortest interview for us at BloodHorse at the Breeders' Cup, but it was because you and I, after the race, after the Classic, walked together back to the owner's enclosure.
Yes.
Arms around each other, of all things, just to get through the crowd. And
yes.
You told me in that interview, and I'll never forget it, Brooke, that you'll have a moment at some point where you sit down and you really collect your thoughts about what Sierra Leone meant on the track. And I know he's off to stud, and he's got plenty of babies that are going to be running. You'll get to, at least it's a great part of our sport, is that you get to have that continuance of that line of his, of his legacy, essentially. Have you had that moment yet?
I try to get bits and pieces of it all the time. I'll have to tell you, I'm not a guy that sits around like at my desktop or on my phone and watching the replays of the races. But a week or so ago, when all this Derby stuff started up, maybe one more bourbon than I should have had, and I watched a lot of races, and it was just like, oh my gosh, just amazing. He won some big races. I'm super proud of him. He was an incredible horse to watch. His running style. If you get a chance to go see him at Ashford, I mean, he looks like Adonis or just chiseled out of granite. If appearances translate to, results, he's got that covered. So just amazing. I love going to see him. I like to think he knows me, but I don't think he does.
Yeah, I mean, we just, right before we did our interview with Ramiro Restrepo, who we had on earlier in the show, he said to you how great Sierra Leone looked when he was over there at Coolmore
He
the
is
other
amazing.
day.
I mean, he's a standout. So we'll see, how that translates. He's taken to breeding really well. He's right on pace. He's all business. He was a bit persnickety maybe, especially as a younger colt. But when it comes to the breeding, he's all business. He walks in, he does his thing. And doesn't overexert himself. They're like, this is a classic sire. This is exactly what we want. So we'll see.
Now, you mentioned earlier, you never know whether or not you're going to be back when you're at a race like this or when you have a horse like Sierra Leone. You had the complete opposite experience, I guess, this year. You're wearing his hat right now, Paladin, who was the favorite for the Kentucky Derby just a month ago. And then, unfortunately, he had an injury that knocked him off the trail. What is it like kind of getting that news at that stage, that close to the Kentucky Derby? Just put that into perspective.
Ask good questions and tough ones. I got to tell you, that was a lot harder than finishing second at Kentucky Derby, which sounds a little strange.
I actually get that.
Yeah.
I
it was-
really get that.
We had a rash of great luck and a bit of rash of some unfortunate stuff. Canaletto, who's no joke, probably wouldn't have made the field just because of it. When he started to get cranked up, but the phone rang on a Saturday. When you see that happen on a Saturday morning, it's usually not good news. And it rang Saturday, and I picked it up, and I'm like, "Please tell me it's not the big horse." And they said, "Well, no, but Canaletto has an injury. It's going to require him to take some time off." And I was just like, "Oh gosh, is he okay?" Yes, he's fine. He'll heal. Well, guess what? A week later, the phone rings again, and I'm like, "Do I answer it? Do I answer it?" I waited to the very last, and finally, I was like, "Just damn it, boom!" And I said, "You're not calling to tell me?" Yeah, we are. So I was super excited about him. I still am. He's, the good news is these horses are fine. Their injuries are just a kind of a function of being, young and a little pressure. But this is all part of it.
Yep.
But for I was gutted. I mean, for like 48 hours, for the first couple hours, I was just like, damn, because when you have a horse like that that's in the mix, it's so exciting. It's not like you think about every minute, but it's like this halo around, and it's just, everything else is easier to deal with, and it's just so exciting to be a part of something again. And that's just going to be put on hold. The Derby only comes once, so I allowed myself to be sick to my stomach for about 48 hours, and I said, "You're going to have to let this thing go come Monday," and I have, and so I'm super excited about the race, even though he's not in there. Obviously, Renegade is kind of, arguably the favorite. I don't know what the current odds are.
He's essentially 5-1 this morning right before we taped this. Yeah,
He was the morning line favorite.
and he was also the morning line favorite at 4-1. So I think there's a chance we got a 9-2, 5-1 kind of favorite in the Derby. Yeah,
No question.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how he runs. And that'll relate kind of, Paladin's was pretty competitive with him, beat him a couple times.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
But it's all the trip. I mean, I was talking to people earlier. Is the Derby a third of the trip, half the trip? I mean, what decides who wins? And anymore, I would have to say I'd say it's half at least.
Oh, sure.
I mean,
Yeah, sure.
there's so many great horses that just didn't have the good fortune in that race, which also makes it kind of exciting, So I can't wait to see what happens. Konnichiwa. I think that what is it?
Dan and Bourbon.
Yes. I think what I'm hearing about him is, they keep talking about how he compared to Forever Young at this stage and how fast he's been running. And everybody's just like, oh, well, those horses just don't win. That's not a great handicap in a place.
It is not. You're
It just
correct.
isn't. So we'll see. We'll see.
Is it that just because you saw what it was like to run against Forever Young in the Breeders' Cup Classic last year? Is that changing your mind on the Japanese?
Yeah.
See how Password finished fifth in that Derby. Yeah.
No question.
Right.
Like, it's interesting. I think Forever Young people would argue that if between Forever Young and Sierra Leone, who's more important? Well, earnings clearly Forever Young. Head-to-head matchups, kind of a toss-up in a sense. But those are two horses we'll look back on for sure, especially if they become, meaningful sires.
One of the things I've always admired most about you is your ability to, where even when you have a horse in the race, to talk well about other people's horses. And you're doing that here as well with Forever Young and some of the horses you just mentioned for the Derby this year. So what are your kind of thoughts on some of the other horses in this year's Derby? Who are you kind of keeping an eye on as you're out here this week?
Well, I mean, there's great human interest stories too. There's
totally.
just some incredible. That's the best thing about the Derby. I mean, it is actually an incredible day of watching on TV if you don't make it out to the track, because they do a great job of talking about the backstories and things like that. There's always something there. I'm really curious about Dan and Bourbon, or how you say
Okay.
it?
Yeah.
And also, I mean, it's surprising to me that Further Ado wouldn't be, kind of bet to the favorite.
I think there's a very good chance that he will be. Yeah.
I mean, they're talking, a bounce. Okay. He's amazing. He's just unreal. Gritty, gutsy. Then there's horses like this could be the year where we're like, oh yeah, well, Incredibolt won.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's like this.
That'll be good for
dash.
my wallet.
yes, it would.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's like a mad dash, to get to get in it, and you have to be in it. You have to be up there. I mean, Forever Young and Sierra Leone came flying, but they didn't win it because they were back, and when you're further back, it's just more to navigate. How many times we watch races and we see a horse and clearly the best, but has traffic problems, even in a 6, 8, 10 horse field. So I don't know. I mean, the jockeys really factor in the Derby. Chad really likes emerging market, and he loves his Oaks filly, and you got Flavian up. And so it's so exciting to talk about. It seems like it's a lot longer than 2 minutes because we built up to it. So, I mean, like I would say, if I was going to do some kind of box, I would definitely put Dan and Bourbon and Emerging Market, Further Ado, those three, and then throw an Incredibolt or who knows? I mean, that freaky work that Baffert's horse had.
Potente, yeah.
Yeah. So, this is what it's all about.
Yeah. All of those horses except one are going to be double-digit odds. It's fun, isn't it?
It's incredible.
It's the best.
No question.
Yeah.
No question about it.
Yeah.
You mentioned Further Ado. That was the race Paladin was supposed to be in, the Bluegrass Stakes. How do you think he would have fared there? We saw Further Ado run off by such a wide margin.
I think Paladin was training better than he ever had. Even the day he got in that injury, he came off the track after just almost a bullet work and did it easy. So that would have been interesting to see.
Yeah,
that would be interesting to see. It's tough to sit here and say, "Oh yeah, well Paladin would have handled that." I mean, the horse ran a monstrous race. Yeah. Unbelievable.
He was great. He was legitimately great that day. Yes.
Yeah. It's so exciting. I can't wait to see what happens.
Well, Sierra Leone was part of the Purses for a Purpose program. I know your horses are right now. So bring it back to the Backside Learning Center. We did have a chance to talk with Sherry Stanley, the executive director of the Backside Learning Center, to learn a little bit more about this place that's so important to Brooke and to everybody here on the backstretch. So let's go ahead, and before we hear some more Brooke's thoughts on the Backside Learning Center, let's go ahead and hear from Sherry. Continuing on here with BloodHorse at the Derby, we're in a pretty unique place here at Churchill Downs right now at the Backside Learning Center, where I am joined by Sherry Stanley, the executive director of the Backside Learning Center. It's getting kind of busy at this time of year, Sherry. Just what is it like being on the backstretch around Derby week?
It's really exciting. Of course, there are lots of, it's just 1 week out of the entire year that we have a lot of attention. People back here milling about, and all of our clients, workers who are workers back here are all kind of stars. They're all in the spotlight for a short period of time. So it's just really fun and exciting with all the attention back here.
Yeah, obviously we see all the horses that are going to be on the track. There's plenty of videos and photos of all the horses that are in the Kentucky Derby and the Kentucky Oaks online right now. But usually in those photos with the horses, you're going to see the exercise riders on their backs. You're going to see the grooms taking care of them, the hot walkers walking around the barn. You see all those people that are involved with it as well. It's a lot more than just the horses back here, isn't it?
Absolutely. There are about 1,000 people back here at any given time that are taking care of about the 1,400 horses that are stable back here when we're at full capacity. So it truly takes a huge team of people, and these are all the unsung heroes that we always talk about that are served by the Backside Learning Center. So anyone that's back here is eligible to receive services, participate in our programs. Many, many people required to carry out this great race, and of course the 365 days of work that's taking place around the Derby.
Yeah, and we have horses here at Churchill Downs pretty much from mid-March until the end of December, and so we're going to have people that live here on site. The Backside Learning Center does a lot, as you mentioned, of kind of helping them through a lot of the necessities of life. Obviously, we have a lot of immigrants that are here at the racetrack, so people that are getting used to kind of life here in the United States and maybe need some extra support. So what kind of support options do you guys offer them at the Learning Center?
Really a variety, kind of everything under the sun that people are, looking for and needing. We try our best to accommodate that. We have we usually explain it, like break it down into two different groups of people. So the workers who live on site, it's about 600 people that live here on the track between the months that you mentioned. So about 10 months out of the year, there are 600 people that are living here on site, and we have specific programs to that group of people. So social services, obviously, we distribute all the backside mail. These are kind of like the small things that we do.
The things we don't think about, like needing to be done on a backstretch,
exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And just helping people navigate how to get from point A to point B, how to get transportation. We have access to a lot of bicycles. We have some great donors throughout the city that give bikes to us. So we're always distributing bikes because that's a main form of transportation back here. English classes start up on Tuesday after Derby. So we have this very busy time with Derby, but then our busy time really starts right after Derby when we're starting all of our programs off. So just, helping people on the backside kind of navigate life in Louisville, get what they need, get questions asked. And then the other group is our families who have kids here and live in the vicinity of Churchill Downs Racetrack. So the majority of families, kids can't live back here. And you have to have, you have to be employed to be able to get housing back here. So that's another very large group of people. So we have a lot of programming geared towards kids and, helping them be successful in life. So there's a lot involved in that. But our families who are here year round, a typical scenario would be moms stay in town with kids over the winter while dads move south or move to other tracks to wherever their trainers are going. Then we also have Trackside Training Center, Sports Spectrum, that where horses are. So that's a spillover track that's also owned by Churchill Downs, a training center. And that is full of horses year round. So 12 months out of the year, that's another community of about 300 people that we also serve. So our programs and services are taking place year round.
How did you get involved with the Learning Center and kind of how did this come to be? Obviously, it's a very important mission that you guys are accomplishing here and helping the backstretch community. Kind of a unique mission, too, that we don't necessarily see at a lot of different racetracks. So kind of how did this all just come to be?
This was before my time. I've been here since 2013, but the Learning Center has existed since 2004. So what I was told when I started was that this was an initiative that happened. So I guess conversations were probably happening for a few years prior to 2004. And really a collaboration between Churchill Downs Racetrack and the Kentucky Derby Museum. Because the museum has a lot of focus on education, they were really the leader there at the time, the CEO, Lynn Ashton, was very passionate about English classes and just getting more educational programming back here. As the community was shifting more to more of an immigrant workforce, communication, of course, was really important. You're working with live animals, and of course, you don't want to have any communication breakdowns because you could put people or horses' lives at risk. So really, they saw the need for English classes, and then it was a lending library at the time also when it first started. So really, that was the collaboration, and Churchill Downs Racetrack donated this this building that we're sitting in right now, which was the racing office at the time. They gave this to the Learning Center. So we have lived here ever since, over 20 years, rent free, and they provide, our maintenance and pay our utilities and all that. So that's a huge, if we wouldn't exist if it weren't for having this facility here on site. So that's how the Learning Center started, and we have evolved and changed a great deal since that time.
And you mentioned some of the services and the programs and stuff that you guys offer. So obviously it's very important work that you guys are doing, but how important is it now looking at like the response from the backstretch workers and like seeing, how much they appreciate the work that you guys do? How much has it really helped them out having something like this available for them on the backstretch?
That's one thing that makes our job so gratifying is just people are incredibly gracious and appreciative of the services that they have available here. And we've just heard kind of anecdotally that people really do seek out, people that work in the equine industry really do seek out Kentucky and specifically Churchill Downs because of the resources that are available to them here through the Backside Learning Center. So we're really proud of that and proud to be a one of a kind in the country. I know there are other organizations in New York, but we're kind of everything under one umbrella. So it's, a really, we're so happy to be able to provide all that we do to this community, and everything is 100% free of charge. So I think, where I feel like we've been able to make a great deal of impact is with families. Of course, as you mentioned, it's about 80 to 85% immigrant workforce. And, immigrants come to this country in order to have better, job opportunities and to be able, it's kind of more of a financial drive so that they can invest in their kids and invest in the, future generations so that they can have, opportunities to go to college and to work as lawyers and doctors. And
Yeah.
they have a lot of really, ambitious dreams. And we've seen a lot of kids, fulfill these dreams because their parents are so dedicated to their success. And, because of the nature of their jobs within this industry, that is, literally 24/7, not 24/7, but definitely 7 days a week, and very long hours. They're really limited with the time that they can dedicate to their kids and the development
Yeah.
of their kids. So I feel like in that area specifically, we have been really, really instrumental in opening up opportunities and just kind of, forging a positive path for the future for these kids.
Yeah, and I got to write an article for BloodHorse magazine a few years ago about kind of your mission, being the 20-year anniversary of the Learning Center, and as part of that, I got to sit in on some of the classes for the kids, and just kind of see that work firsthand and talk to a lot of the volunteers, and just like how connected they are and how important of a mission they feel it is and how much they just love being here and being able to provide that for the kids. So that really is a very important part of what you guys are doing back here. Obviously, we
Yeah.
think about the workers themselves, but there's all their family, as you mentioned, everybody that's kind of connected to that really benefits from it as well.
Yeah, 100%. And it's, they are a part of this community. We talk about how workers in horse racing are transient. Yes, that's true to a certain extent, but they do spend the majority of their time here in Kentucky, and particularly families. So
Yeah.
they are a part of this community. And so it's not only a benefit to the industry, but just to our community as a whole, this neighborhood. So really does have kind of rippling effects into, the city for sure.
Now, one of the ways that owners can get involved with giving back to the workers is the Purses for a Purpose program. This is one that really kind of gained some national attention just a few years ago with Sierra Leone, who was second here in the Kentucky Derby, won the Breeders' Cup Classic in 2024. His owner, Brook Smith, is a very outspoken supporter of the Backside Learning Center here. So just tell us a little bit about that program and kind of how owners are giving back to the backstretch workers here.
Brooke, of course, has been, I always call him our number one cheerleader. We were just looking at an article in Trainers Magazine that came out. There was several pages about him and his dedication to our mission. So he has really been a great example of an owner who, to him, this has been a no-brainer. Like, owners in the industry, trainers in the industry need to give back to their workforce because in the end, you're going to have a better product, right? Everyone's going to be more successful when you invest in all the people that are working so hard behind the scenes and are not necessarily recognized for all of the work that they do to make this whole industry possible. So we started a program, and this was kind of Brooks, he planted this seed to for this program. But it's very simple. It's just basically, if you own horses or train horses, it's more geared towards owners, but please consider donating. I know that it's expensive to own a racehorse for sure, but if you are fortunate enough to for your horse to win and become successful, and you're making a profit off of that, please consider donating a portion of whatever it is that you earn. It's completely flexible, whether it be 1%, 10%, 50%, whatever you're willing to donate, but think about donating a portion of your winnings to the Backside Learning Center, which will in turn support the workforce that played a large role in making your horse successful.
So if you're an owner or trainer watching this, obviously it's a great mission to support the backstretch workforce here by kind of joining into that Purses for a Purpose program. But for those that are watching that maybe are not owners or trainers and they want to give their support and they want to thank all the backstretch workers for the hard work they do taking care of the horses, how can they support the Learning Center?
We have a lot of information on our website, and we have a lot of information also on all the social media channels that exist. So I would recommend people going to our website, backsideLearningCenter.org, and you can learn about our programs. You can learn about how to get involved. You can learn about how to donate. So there's really opportunities for wherever you are in your life. If you don't have the time to get involved personally and, volunteer either as an English tutor or tutoring kids or helping in another way through fundraising events, for example, of course, we're always open to donations. We rely on, private donations for 100% of our budget. And it's just a constant effort to get the word out there, to, we organize fundraising events. So we have our big event November 20th is going to be this year, our benefit for the backside. Lots of ways to get involved with that. We have sponsorships. We have a winner circle program that we're really trying to promote right now, because we need kind of that dependable source of income that is coming in every month. So whether it's $5, $10, $50 a month, that's money that we know that's coming in and that we can rely on. So our winner circle program is a great one. We do backside tours all the time. So I think that is a great entry point of just learning more about our mission, seeing the, community in action in the mornings. So scheduling a tour with us, again, you can get our contact information on our website, and just email us, call us, whatever whatever works for you to reach out to us. We will make it happen for you to be able to either support or get involved personally.
Awesome. Now, obviously, everybody started coming back in last month here in March. Just what is that feeling like at the beginning of the year as people start kind of filtering back into Churchill Downs and the horses start coming back? And just how exciting of a time of year is that for everybody to kind of be reconnected?
It's really exciting, and it's kind of like a family reunion because one great thing about the Learning Center is that we are working with a lot of the same people and a lot of the same families year after year that are, they've been working in this industry for 5, 10, 20, 30 years. So, we have deep relationships with people. We've seen kids grow up. We met them when they were in middle school or elementary school, and now they're going to college. So that's really a great thing. And it truly is like a family reunion, and it's kind of quiet. It's more quiet here over the winter because there aren't any horses or people on the backside. So having, life come back into our building and seeing people that we hadn't seen, and knowing that people had a successful winter, they traveled safely. That's just a great feeling. So everyone's very happy in the spring to receive everyone back.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time with me here, Sherry. Appreciate you telling us all about the Learning Center. Make sure if you're watching, go check out the Learning Center on their website and just enjoy Derby as it's coming up. It sounds like it's going to be pretty busy after Derby as well. So best of luck to you and the whole team here at the Learning Center. And thank you for all the work that you do for the backstretch community.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it, Sean.
Awesome. All right. Thank you very much to Sherry for joining us to talk about the Backside Learning Center.
Stuff. I love it.
Yeah, that's great stuff. And Brooke, she mentioned the Purchase for a Purpose program and how big of a role that you played in that, first getting it off the ground, in addition to obviously being a big supporter of it now. How did that idea kind of come to be, and why are you such a big supporter of that mission?
Well, it's the easiest place. When you win something, you have to share it, right? So that's money coming in. And, if you have a number of horses with different trainers and different like banning bills and things like that, it's a rounding error to take 1% or 2% of a particular horse or your stable and to give it back. It's just that simple. Because if you don't, it just doesn't function, and these places can work, but if they don't have the support like this place is developed, then it exists. It doesn't function properly. And now it's beyond functioning properly. They're continuing to add more programming and think about different things that people need. So the Purchase for a Purpose is just an easy way for an owner to say, hey, I want to roll my horse. We need to put some wind back in that sail and start to really kind of, it's like everything else. It's about awareness. And we talk about this stuff, which is great when we have these horses, but we need to continue to, put a billboard up, or just to have like one day everybody at the track happens to wear a Purchase for a Purpose sticker or something. Like these are the kind of things that keep it top of mind, because the Derby comes and goes and it gets real quiet back here.
Yes, it does.
But it's still the essential of the industry. So, it has a good ring to it. It's fun. There's a number of horses in there. I always keep mine in there. And let's hope that other owners do the same thing. I would encourage them too.
Yeah, you don't need a Kentucky Derby horse to be part of this program. No. Yeah, anybody that's got horseback here, go ahead and donate some of that.
No question. And it's real easy to set up. We could even probably come up with some kind of a direct draft or something like that. Look, there's a lot of people that are very, very philanthropic in this industry. And I would say as a whole, the horse industry is probably more philanthropic than less compared to other industries. I'm involved with TOBA and the TCA, and that organization raises money, 7 figures and disperses it, because the tough part is to get it in and then kind of find the little places that it needs to go. This isn't like shame on you. You should have your horse in this program. It's just like, hey, why not? And then the backside gets behind you. Not that they aren't already. And look, I believe that some of Sierra Leone's good fortune was because he was a part of the Persons for a Purpose program. I mean, it's called good karma. Come on.
Also, happy workers make happy horses. They
No
really
question.
do. And they
No
just
question.
really do. And so if we can take care of the horse people back here, they're going to take care of the horses with an even better attitude. I'm not putting anyone down, calling them like they're not in a good mood when they get here. But man, if you feel like you talked about, just the comfort level of a place like this, a program like this, it affects the horses too.
Well, exactly. It's a passion. These folks work hard. I'll try to tell you one backside story. It doesn't specifically apply to Churchill, but this is when we had some young horses a long time ago when Danny Hutt was training, and we bought some cheaper yearlings. We went to Florida. We were breaking them. And I love any backside. I don't care if it's a training center, but Churchill's obviously special, and this place is special. But we had a colt by Holy Bull, long time ago, sired, beautiful gray, and there's a gal out there with the food truck, which I love. I mean, if you ever want to find me at the backside, I'm either gonna be here or at the food truck, okay? And I'll definitely have a burrito in my hand. Well, that ties back to this story. So this gal is sitting there, and the food truck's right outside the barn. And here comes this beautiful gray 2-year-old, and she says, well, who is this? And we say, oh, we haven't named the horse yet, but it's by Holy Bull, beautiful gray horse. And she says, you need to name him Holy Burrito. And I'm like, absolutely you do. So Holy Burrito is christened in that moment, and he ended up winning a number of races. So it's like those interactions that are just magic that you don't forget, and it all starts here. The races go in a minute, 2 minutes, backside constant. And just walking around today, even though it's rainy, and seeing families and kids that maybe are going to go to school late and everything about it. And hello, how you doing? It's so friendly. Everybody's excited, What's up, man? Good to see you. Hey, how are you? Yeah. Nothing like it.
Yeah. No, it's the good stuff. Well, Brook, we'll let you go. Appreciate it very much. Paladin, doing okay, you said?
Great.
Back summer, fall, is there a target at all at this point?
Procedure couldn't have gone any better. He is actually at Ashford over in Versailles, and I think he's just about covered his stall rest, so he can move around a little bit more. He looks great. So I'd say, again, the horse tells you, and I'm the last person to kind of pontificate, but I'd say he'll get a race in him between now and probably close to Breeders' Cup. I don't think there's any specific plans for him, but based on the timing of him, Maeve and Canaletto, there's some races a long way from here that have some magical things in purses, and maybe he just signed a contract to go there because he'll be fresh, and so who knows?
Paladin at Kentucky Downs. You heard it here first. Magic purses. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, look, I've had a couple 20+ to 1 shots that have won there. And the bourbon that they gave you in the winter circle did not make it very long. Okay?
Oh, man.
Shoot.
Well, good stuff.
Great.
Appreciate it.
You guys
very
are
much.
amazing. Thank you for
right.
the
Thank
chance
you,
to chat about the Backside Learning Center. And let's meet in a week and see who's right.
There you go. He's Brook Smith. Appreciate him jumping in here at the Backside Learning Center. More BloodHorse at Derby 152 next. All right. Thanks to everybody who joined us today here on the program. Sean, it really gets real, I think, it feels tomorrow like it gets real busy back here.
Yeah.
And then, Friday is just go day. You even heard it on the loudspeaker backside here. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you need paddock passes, people.
Yeah.
Like they're starting to warn you, hey, today's the last day where we get to act like Churchill Downs. Starting tomorrow, we got to act like Derby.
Yeah, Churchill Downs changes into the home of the Kentucky Derby here pretty quickly. And the excitement, as we mentioned at the top of the show, the excitement is building. We're getting close. We know we're almost there for the Kentucky Derby. We're putting the final touches on the horses right now. And, it's getting close. We got one episode left of these. We got tomorrow, and that's it. It sounds like we're getting a good lineup of people to talk to tomorrow as well. So make sure you stay tuned to that. Also, make sure sure you're following along on BloodHorse.com and the BloodHorse Daily for all of our great stories on the contenders in this year's race. All of our reporters have been running around all over the place talking to people, so you can catch all those stories on there. And also make sure you check out all of BloodHorse's social media pages to learn some more and to see the horses up close.
Thanks to all of you who came out to BloodHorse's Derby 152 seminar last night here in town. We had a great time with all of you. Thank you so much for making us part of your Derby week. For Sean, I'm Louie. This has been BloodHorse at the Kentucky Derby for 152. Wednesday edition. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll see you then.
The BloodHorse is dedicated to the improvement of thoroughbred breeding and racing for over 100 years. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and save BloodHorse Monday on all your platforms. For the latest news, analysis, and insights, visit us at bloodhorse.com.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.